This jungle cactus is known as Rhipsalis ewaldiana, and it is native to southeast Brazil. This is an epiphytic jungle cactus, and oftentimes when we think of cacti, we think of desert-like conditions growing in sand under intense sun, but that is not the case with these types of succulent cacti. These are growing underneath the jungle canopies in Brazil, so they're getting a tremendous amount more humidity, and they actually like humidity. So more moderate to high humidity is going to be perfect for these particular plants, although I have been growing also in a little bit more like low to moderate humidity, and that's actually fine as long as you're watering them appropriately. Now this particular plant is growing a little bit deeper into my space underneath my green wall, so underneath a bunch of foliage and further away from my southwest facing window, which is totally fine because these plants like a little bit more dapple light condition, a little bit more gentle light conditions. Now this one has just finished flowering, so I can't really show you too much of the flowers because they're kind of like dead and dying off, and they probably will be little berries soon. And you could also see how it was growing up in another little pot, so it kind of rooted itself in another pot, and you could see how quickly the roots might actually grow when you give it a little soil substrate to grow in. So you can imagine it on the kind of trees, like kind of scaling up and like rooting along as it goes. Now I have another Rhipsalis ewaldiana, and it is not this kind of like lime neon green, so I'm not quite sure, why the coloration is what it is, but it is typical to actually see different kinds of forms or variants of the particular species, throughout different areas, and it might have a different form just within a little microcosm of where it was collected. Now, this one has a little bit more of a barky, kind of charcoal-y, kind of perlite mix, and that's a little bit more of the mix that I do give my Rhipsalis because it doesn't like to be sitting in water. It is so accustomed to getting like a little drench of rain and then kind of falling off because it doesn't have a lot of soil substrate because it's sitting in that kind of tree. So it will kind of get wet and then dry out, and so you want to be able to kind of mimic those conditions indoors, and a good way to actually do that is giving it a little bit more of a porous, well-draining substrate. And I tend to like to give my plants a little bit more of a porous container as well, just like I have it in this terracotta pot. As far as propagation goes, you could easily propagate this plant. As you could see, it's already kind of rooting up a little bit more along the stem, so even clipping it at around some of those areas, or sometimes it kind of just falls off at the joint and will start to root up in soil, wherever soil substrate it is in, or beneath, if you're giving it like a mossy bed or anything along those lines, it'll just kind of root up really easily. Now I've had this plant for a little less than 2 years, and I have to say I've had no pest pressures whatsoever, no problems, no complaints, so a very easy plant to grow, and especially if you don't have tremendously bright light conditions in your home.